All right, now we got Matt Capps back. How you doing, Matt?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Good. You are a coach, right? Little league coach?
I am, yeah. So I coach my son's team, 12U. We're getting ready to go to Cooperstown in a couple of weeks. It's a big time. And let's see, we have 14 total teams. So it's a little program that I started here with my town, Roswell, Georgia. It's a Roswell BSBL program. That's us.
Have you been tossed from a game or stolen a base yet?
I have not. No.
I mean, that's still the boss move of all boss moves. If you're going to get tossed from a game, take the damn base with you.
I do not disagree with you there. That was pretty awesome when Lloyd did that. Has anybody else done that, or is that just Lloyd?
I don't think so. I
don't know. I mean, Shelty might by tonight if things don't get cleaned up, Matt. Like, what's going on? This has been a tough 2 games, one heck of a grind. So what's it like in that bullpen after you give it up maybe 2 days in a row? Can't be a fun place, and I guess everybody here in Pittsburgh is probably wondering, like, what's next, huh?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you got to do the best you can to try and keep it from kind of settling in your brain and really kind of harping on it. It's a Major League Baseball season. It's 162 days. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have in-between days. Unfortunately for that core group down in the bullpen, the last couple of days have been back-to-back bad days. But you got to find a way to flush it, get it out of your mind, and go out and compete. Hopefully today, and help the ball club get a win.
Matt, obviously as a reliever, you don't have the benefit to kind of work into a start or work through a rough patch most times. So how do you get out of a funk when you're a reliever when you don't have those opportunities?
Well, sometimes, for me at least, it was getting right back into the fire. If there was a mechanical tweak or something was hurt or not feeling great, that's not what you always want to do. You don't want to make mechanical adjustments on the mound in the game. If something's hurt, obviously you need a little bit of time to let it cool down. And by hurt, I don't mean injured enough to where you have to go on the IL. Just something doesn't feel right. Maybe a day or two can help, but that's where you got to communicate with your the bullpen coach. You got to communicate with the trainers and all the staff, and just let them know what's going on. I don't know if that's the case with guys that are beat up right now. It wouldn't surprise me this time of year that you're kind of hitting. Marathons talk about it. What is it that middle third of the race? Marathon runners talk about where that can be the hardest part.
That's something I will never know in person, but I've heard.
Well, yeah, me either. This body's not built to go that long. But, as we're kind of getting into that stretch of the season, June, July can be challenging on the body. So you just got to take care of yourself. But I'd like to see him just get right back out there, get right back into it, and hopefully that's something that Derek and his staff are able to do. There's situations where guys that have been struggling can get right back out there and hopefully find a little bit of that confidence that maybe has slipped away here lately.
Matt, is there anything that you've been able to see that jumps off the page at you when Aroldis Chapman is on point? As good as any reliever, as good as he's maybe ever been over the course of his career, and then, as was the case the other night, he just can't find the strike zone where he throws just 2 strikes out of 14 pitches. Is there any common fabric, common denominator, anything you can put your finger on? Because it's such a pendulum swing as to what you may get from night to night, and that's got to be tough to manage if you're Derek Shelton.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So, with Chapman's been so good for so long. It's hard to even think about picking him apart. But from a mechanical standpoint, there's a lot of moving parts. And he's a big physical guy. So it's having everything synced up, and when he's not synced up, that's his problem, finding the strike zone. And this is not necessarily a new thing. I mean, if you followed the course of Chapman's career, he's had stretches where he has struggled to find the strike zone, and he's gotten hit a little bit. he's got the big body. He gets his leg up. He creates a little bit of a twist to try and create the torque, and then he drops down into it. His timing has to be perfect between when he starts the twist, when the leg starts going towards home plate, when the hands break, things like that. And with throwing, Chapman especially, as long as his arms are and as his legs are, he's going to come across the ball a little bit. And when he misses that high, and he misses a lot glove side low. And just from a mechanical, that's the hand coming across the strike zone instead of through the strike zone. And I like to think of the strike zone as being a space right in front of my face when I throw. And what does my hand do? And I've learned to simplify this and kind of break it down a little bit, talking about teaching kids. I can't control anything that happens after the baseball leaves my hand. So I can't worry about that. I can't focus on that. All I really need to focus on is what my body does while the baseball is in my hand, and I can control that baseball. Once it leaves my hand, the hitter, the air that the ball is traveling through, the air that impacts the ball after it leaves the bat, my defenders, all of that is out of my control. So I need to focus on me. And I think it's something with his body and his timing and how he's linked up when he's throwing the baseball that, again, he's 36, 37 years old. How many years? 14th, 15th year in the big league, something like that. I mean, he could be battling through some things, and if something doesn't feel right, it's struggling with the timing. There's still human beings out there, so the emotional side of it, a lot of times when things, for me, I felt like results were better when I didn't feel 100%, because when I felt 100%, it was, okay, I'm gonna throw 100 today. Instead of pitching at 93, 94 and getting people out, you try and overdo it. And I'm going to throw this really nasty slider. Instead of just throwing a decent slider and letting it be effective, try to make your stuff better. But some guys are the other way. When things don't feel good, they feel like they have to go out and create and just not let their body work and move how it's supposed to move, and that impacts the results.
Talking to Matt Capps, Aroldis Chapman, does he turn it around? I guess that's what everybody wants to kind of know, because he's so integral to this bullpen, and it does kind of complicate everything and how you work the back end of games when you have leads, how you deploy Colin Holderman, and of course maybe even how you use Bednar to some extent. So what's your confidence level that this thing gets rectified?
Yeah, I mean, my confidence level with Aroldis in particular is pretty high, and that's because of the track record. You've got to fall back on a little bit of the track record. I don't think he's done. I mean, the guy's still, we've seen him up at 101. He's still got life in his arm and in his body. That's the hard part of being a manager, is how do you deploy these guys? How do you work with these guys? And Chapman is a guy that's used to pitching late in the ball game, 8th inning, 9th inning. There's a different mental element to that. I think without question, David Bednar is your closer. I think he's your 9th inning guy. I think Chapman has to be your 8th inning guy, and Holderman your 7th inning guy. Within reason, you have to move that around from time to time when guys are struggling. I understand the argument of using my best guy in the best situation, depending on, where the other team's lineup is. But where I struggle is we can't ever forget these are people. People like routine. And going back to the conversation of Chapman being a little bit older and kind of into his routine, he's kind of established. We've all got the parents or the aunts and uncles that sometimes we say maybe they're grumpy. No, they're into their routine. They like things their way, and they like to do things their way. You could say that with baseball players. They're people. They've gotten used to a routine, a situation where they can kind of predict. And especially for me, I've got a lot of experience as being a reliever. If you have to mentally and physically stay on for 9 innings for 162 games, you're fried. by the end of the year. You're absolutely fried. So if you've got that familiarity with a situation that you know you're going to pitch in, let's take Chapman, for example. He's going to have his routine. He's going to go out to the bullpen in the 5th inning, 4th inning, whenever it is. And if he knows he's the 8th inning guy, he's, probably not up and physically and mentally locked in until the 7th. And maybe the bottom of the 6th inning, and then he's going to read the situation and kind of, okay, this is where I'm going to pitch. He's also on the flip side of it. He's going to take a little day off if it's a game where he's got no business coming into the game, and just let the brain and the mental side of his game kind of take a little breather. So I do think there's a lot of value in having guys in roles and trying to consistently use them in the roles that they're set up for.
All right, so the big take headline here is that Matt Capps says baseball players are grumps.
We are, yeah. We're all grumpy.
Just a grumpy old man.
Yeah.
Curmudgeons.
Yes. Hey, David Bednar.
Yeah.
5 of the last 6 have been clean. Granted, yesterday wasn't a save situation, but the ERA is like 2.5. That batting average is now under 200 here in the month of May. Do you feel like he's taken the next, like he's turned the corner, and do you feel good about where he's at right now?
I do. I'll take my chances with David Bednar any day of the week. I was nervous coming out of spring training. Only getting 2 appearances in spring training, I didn't feel like he was able to build up and really be prepared breaking camp, especially that first road trip. And then you could kind of see it. He even had a clean inning in Miami, but the split finger was up, the breaking ball was up, and for me, those are the last things to come in spring training. And any player, pitcher, anybody will tell you, spring training's as long as it is for the pitchers to get ready. The fastball looked good in Miami, that opening series, 95 to 97. It had a little bit of life to it. It didn't have the life that we're used to seeing with Betty. But the command of the breaking ball, the command of the split, just being up and not being able to throw it where he wants to throw it, wasn't there. And most of his struggles this year have been because of that. And I think he's had to, going back to kind of the mental side of all this, I think he was trying to create something that his body just physically wasn't ready for just yet. And then after a couple of struggles, I haven't talked to David about this in particular. He's as tough as they get from the mental side of it. But there's got to be a little bit of that pride in there of I've established myself as this guy, as being a dominant closer, dominant reliever. I've had some struggles. Every game he'd come in, he'd look up and he'd see that 10, 11, 12 ERA on the scoreboard. You can't avoid it. And then it's almost like you take the approach of, I'm going to fix it with this pitch. I'm going to fix it with that pitch. And then that's really when you get in trouble and you're missing in the big part of the zone, you get hit a little bit. But like I said, he's as tough as they get. Mentally, obviously he's a physical beast. David Bednar has been the least of my worries all year. I knew he'd figure it out. I think he has. Just watching him pitch, he looks like the David Bednar we've gotten used to seeing the last couple of years. And I think it was just a tough start to the season, and I think he was put behind the 8 ball with that little injury in spring training, and then trying to be a gamer and go out and be with the team from opening day on. I think it was a tough situation for him.
Matt, thanks so much for getting up with us. We appreciate the explanation. The stuff about Chapman was fascinating, so thank you very much.
Yeah, good stuff, and appreciate you putting on pants for the interview this morning, Matt. Good stuff.
Is my camera wide?
No.
How do you know that happened?
Matt Capps, Pirates broadcaster, all-star reliever, joining us here on the Fan Morning Show. Jeff Hathorn, Dan Zangrilli, in for Adam Crowley and Doran Dickerson with Nicholas Callis as well.